Welcome to Backboard Banter on the board with your hosts, Matt Middleton and Kevin Rayner, where the banter's as ferocious as Nikola Jokic, man.
He's been unreal in that series. He's really, I think angry, at the whole MVP situation after those back to backs. The Joker's coming for you guys. Phoenix, be scared.
Bro, I'm not even talking about his play. I'm talking about that push for Matt Ishbia. I mean, he knocked that guy right over.
Man, he's got the strength, and then he took a nice fall against Kevin Durant the other night. Gotta get that 1 point back. He really took that comment from Devin Booker to heart about Ishbia getting that point, but man, what a weird situation, Ishbia. Hopefully you learned your lesson about, holding on to the ball because as Matt and I were talking about, anybody else, you're getting out of there. There's no way you're getting away with that.
Yeah, no way. Like, he's just the owner, so he gets to stay. And, I totally get it and I understand. But at the end of the day, like, any other fan's getting kicked out of that arena and escorted out by security. But hey, man, the guy's the guy's a billionaire, so he can do what he wants.
Such is the situation. And to bring it back to our takes, my friend, you over there, the Nuggets they're up strong, they're up 3-2, so they're chugging their way to the finals. Celtics, on the other hand, they're in a bit of a sticky situation, but we'll talk about them later because yeah, I finally got one right. I had so many absolute fails back to back on all my calls, but I took the easy take, Matt. Golden State slapping the Lakers down in game two, but that almost feels like a lifetime ago, considering that they find themselves now in a 3-1 hole. Like a wild
Bro,
week of basketball, Matt.
you're getting ahead of us here. I mean, we like to do our Raptors chat first now. There's not too much to talk about, so let's just get through it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
There's some, coaching rumors out there. JJ Redick for the coach of the Toronto Raptors. How do you feel about it?
I mean, I'm not opposed. We're in this situation where the team needs to find something, and we're really putting the feelers out there, right? I feel like almost every day gonna start getting a different rumor back and forth, but at the end of the day, we're interviewing people. We're getting the job out there to see who is invested, who's interested, who would actually want to come in, and whether or not they could be the right man for the job. And if the rumors are true and we're planning on doing more than just a head coach, we want to really get some fresh blood into the whole coaching roster. Can't hurt to interview a lot of candidates and then maybe bring a couple of them back for assistant coaching roles later.
And at the end of the day, man, I think that the best organizations in all of sports, they cast the widest net when searching for the people that they're, to fill their positions.
Yeah.
I understand that we could have, top tier candidates already kind of penciled in for the next round, and it's the first round of interviews, but hey, maybe JJ comes in and he really impresses.
Right.
Like maybe he gives a different perspective on this team that Masai really enjoyed, and now he can push towards that head coaching position. I would prefer Jerry Stackhouse, just in my opinion, just because he's been a coach before, he's done it. But JJ as an assistant, as a players coach, as like we talked about, like would not be bad at all, in my opinion.
He's the type of mind that you want to be a part of your situation, right? He's absolutely carrying Stephen A sometimes on the conversation that the two of them have. He is a fantastic mind. He's lighting it up right now in the media game, so it would be interesting
Oh yeah.
to see him, shift into that coaching situation. But also he's the type of mind that I could definitely see down the line wanting to coach, wanting to be a part of it because as a shooter, as a player, he's got that like Steve Kerr vibe, he wants to be around the game, he wants to be a part of it. So whether or not it ends up as a situation, I wouldn't be mad, but it definitely would be a big risk from the organization on a guy like him.
Dude, I love that comparison to the Steve Kerr kind of 3 point. I mean, Steve Kerr did have coaching experience when he became the head coach of Golden State. So maybe we're like his first stop and he gives us, that
Yeah,
assistant coach mentality. But you're right, man. The way that he's blown up in the media game like so quickly, it really does underscore how articulate he is and
yep,
how how smart of a basketball mind he has. And so at the end of the day, I love that we're casting that net, that we're talking to as many candidates as we possibly can.
exactly.
And I really hope that we build the staff that's right for our players and right for where we want to go as an organization. And Masai wavering trust, I do still have faith in this guy to build a really, strong organization from top to bottom. He's done it multiple
Right.
times. He showed us that he can do it in multiple locations. So we just gotta trust him. He gets paid, what, like 10 plus million for a reason. Like,
The team's going to be all right. The team's going to be an interesting situation. We know that there's a lot to come when it comes to this Raptors team and the opportunities and the potential changes over the summer. But there's this nice little bright spark, happy moment for OG. Maybe not the moment he deserves, considering it's only second team, but OG finally, on that All NBA team, getting that defensive honor that he deserves. We're happy for our boy OG.
man, I think he would have easily been first team had our team been better.
Yeah.
Um, but that guy definitely deserves, an all NBA defensive team honor. I would have preferred to see him on the first team, but I'll take the second team. You just think about like a guy like Derek White also being on that team. And look, man, I'm not saying Derek White's a scrub. I think he's actually a really nice
Yeah.
player. But like in terms of like comparable players, like now you think Derek White's as good as OG? Like no, he's not. OG is so much better in my opinion. And like maybe I'll give you the Raptors hometown bias, but like I think OG could go somewhere and do what Mikal Bridges has done with the
Yeah.
Brooklyn Nets. I don't see Derek White doing that because he would have done it with San Antonio already.
It's why we want, our dream right now is the OG, the Scotty new age life for this Raptors squad. We won't get too far into it because there's so much good basketball to talk about, but with all these coaching rumors, we can't not sit here and think about what's going to happen with, the entire team in general. What's going to happen with Fred? He's been sending out random tweets here and there occasionally. What's going to happen with Siakam, right? Like, there is still a lot of questions with this roster, and, we know the organization is asking their questions and trying to figure out what they want to do.
Yeah, no, man, there's a lot that's up in the air right now, and it's going to be an interesting summer. I don't expect anything to really take place until after the final and leading up to the draft and maybe even after the draft. But I would love to see us get, at least a coach in place by the draft. I think that would really help when we are, up at the podium to get a coach to be able
Right.
to pick his player. Like I think that's important at least
Well,
to have a discussion with the GM and
Well,
president.
that's it, right? It's not even the coach to pick the player. It's the fact that as having chosen a coach, you will have chosen a direction that you want to go because the coach will be a
Mhm.
major part of that direction. And so, yeah, we're gonna keep our eyes obviously glued to the Raptors, see what happens to them. But right now, the conversation has to be about these four series that are going on. There's some fantastic basketball that has happened this week, Matt.
Wait, back it up, man. We
Oh,
missed something from last week. I know it happened on the same day, and like right after we recorded, but
10 minutes.
yo, man, we were talking about it and we were so like I was almost certain that Milwaukee was just going to run it back with Mike
Yep.
Budenholzer, but I think they made the absolute correct decision in letting him go. He's shown time and time again that he can't adapt in the playoffs. And as we're seeing with these series,
Yeah.
it's the coaches that adapt and change the fastest that end up winning them. I mean, not to go too far into it, but Joe Mazzulla hasn't been very quick to, change up what they're doing, change up their scheme, their system, and it's bitten him. So I think
Yeah.
it's a really interesting idea. There's some people pushing Frank Vogel over Nick Nurse, and if I was Giannis, I would push back against that so hard. I understand Frank Vogel won a championship more recently
Right.
than Nick Nurse did, but like LeBron James and Anthony Davis carrying you to a title after 2 months of rest is completely different
Yeah.
than Nick Nurse orchestrating the box in one, the wall, and then also taking us to the number 2 seed the year after without Kawhi. I think
Yeah.
he's proven more than Frank, personally.
And I mean, I don't know if you've seen that Instagram post from Giannis, but like villain arc Giannis is coming to the NBA. He's upset, he's spaghetti, he's angry. Like Giannis is on the way, and a coach like Nurse, a player like Giannis, a system with good 3-point shooting around it. I mean, I don't know about you, Matt, but that sounds like a pie that needs to be put in the oven and baked until it's absolutely perfection. Because it seems like a match made, right? Like I don't. I'm
Absolutely.
hoping that they're just like, yeah, well, maybe it is Frank, maybe it is that, and they're like, nah, Nick Nurse, because like the rumor was we wanted to bring Giannis into his system, and we never had the opportunity, and I would be kind of sad, but also pretty happy to see the two of them get together and get back to relevancy.
Yeah, it would kind of sting as a Raptors fan, but I'm not even too upset if they go with Frank Vogel because if they go with Frank Vogel and they don't end up doing well, Giannis could
Yeah.
push that re-signing, hit free agency, maybe become a Toronto Raptor in the future. Teach Scotty Barnes the baby Giannis way, and it'd be real nice, man,
Oh
for
man.
for the Raptors fans.
Maybe that's why we end up getting Bud, just to try to bring Giannis back. But please no, please
Don't
Toronto,
bring Bud.
don't hire Budenholzer. I hope Budenholzer goes off and like takes a year, relaxes, goes and enjoys some wine. We know he's got money when you think about NBA coaches at that point, but kind of a crazy situation. I think he has a fantastic legacy with Milwaukee. Obviously a great winning coach was able to unlock Giannis. Kind of ironic that he took the Bucks job after almost taking the Raptors job, at the same time. Like we have this weird interconnected tangledness story with the Bucks right now, but
Oh yeah,
honestly,
man.
wishing all the best for Bud and maybe stepping away from this team and then coming back in the future and finding a new team is what he needs to reevaluate his own self when it comes to playoff basketball. Because as much as we can
No,
talk about, right, there being, you know, 82 game players and 16 game players, we have to imagine there's also 82 game coaches and 16 game coaches. And sorry, bud, you ain't a 16 game coach, at least right now, from what you've shown.
yeah, and I mean to roll into the matchups, man, like and bring it back to Joe Mazzulla, like he unfortunately waited too long to change up their schemes, and he's allowed James Harden to
Yeah.
turn into prime James Harden again. I mean, it's so so crazy that a team with Boston's level of depth, with Boston's level of talent,
Yeah.
for the regular season that they put forth, being NBA finalists last year, execute so poorly down in the clutch.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on that you can't stop, James Harden, Embiid, and Maxey? Like, you guys have, Horford, Williams, you have Tatum, you have Brown, Brogdon, Smart, Derek White. Like, they are deep, man. They are the deepest team left in this playoffs.
Seriously.
And they might just get knocked out. Like, what?
It's insane that an overtime buzzer beater shot from James Harden. Now, I got to say, iconic storyline considering the shooting victim, the story with Harden, with the shoes, getting the winner. Like, as a Celtics fan, you're like, well, we can't beat the storyline there. But also, yeah, Joe Mazzulla, my guy, you are in a dangerous situation. This team is in a dangerous situation. Like Al Horford, you have to be better as the veteran on this team. There's so many things to think about. But also, is it just Philly's time? Is it just Harden realizing what this type of playoff could mean for him? Embiid being as good as he is, getting that MVP, having those moments, and Tyrese Maxey just being able to be along for the ride and be that true third superstar, which, the right players can find themselves in. Like, they're doing really good, but at the same time, it's such a scary situation because if Boston does figure it out, they should win. They should win these games.
Absolutely, they should win these games, man. I mean, to me, when Tatum and Brown are on, they are the best 1-2 punch in the NBA in the
Yeah,
Eastern Conference. Yeah, I might give it to Anthony Davis and LeBron right now because they're playing out of their mind, but Tatum and Brown are right there with them. And the fact that Tatum and Brown are like getting outshot in the fourth quarter by Marcus Smart and Malcolm Brogdon, like that again comes down to coaching and the plays that you're running and the plays that you're calling. And I understand that you have a lot of ball handlers and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown aren't traditional point guards, and you have those guys who are, but your best players need to be your best players.
yeah,
And if I'm Missoula and Jason Tatum doesn't want it, give it to Jaylen Brown. That guy is a dog.
seriously.
He is a absolute killer.
Well,
Let him run the show.
and to piggyback on this briefly, Malcolm Brogdon was brought in to be the ball handler in late game situations because Smart was taking too many shots, because he wasn't making the smart decisions all of the time. Brogdon just seems to be doing exactly what Smart was doing before. Like, yes, let them run the ball. But is it that Joe Mazzulla's play calling isn't great? Is it that they're just not making it happen? And yeah, they're focusing on giving it to Tatum, even though Brown has always and kind of looks like he will be the better clutch player of the two of them. Like, it's such an interesting situation that Boston finds themselves in. They're teetering on the precipice right now of absolute collapse and absolute failure because, like, if let's say they go into the game tomorrow night against Philly, which let's not forget is in Philadelphia, and get blown out, who's to say that locker room isn't going to explode? Who's to say they're not absolutely going to start throwing blame left and right? It's scary right now because there was all of this expectation for this team to be the best of the best. And this is kind of the struggle of, we can't forget that these are all human beings and that if you don't have the mental, sometimes it's not going to work. And right now, Boston is looking like they're crumbling apart.
No, they absolutely do, man. They don't look like they're that team right now. And it's so funny because you hear like, with Boston struggling, with Jaylen Brown potentially not happy with the situation, being the second star and the second guy and wanting to be that one. You have guys in the media throwing out like, "Oh, Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins for Jaylen Brown." Like Jordan Poole, who's almost unplayable in the series at this point, who doesn't have value,
Yeah.
and Andrew Wiggins, who I like Andrew Wiggins. I think he gets panned in the media, but really outside of last year, hasn't really shown too much in the way of being a winning player.
Right.
Why would Boston take that overtaking a guy like Pascal Siakam? You could do Brown and for Siakam. Maybe we throw in a first round pick. Maybe we throw in, Fred Van Vliet or something, Gary Trent Jr., make the money work or something.
Right.
That's a way better package than Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins for Jaylen Brown,
Yeah.
man. Like the sum of two players doesn't just equal the best player. That is clear across NBA history, right? Like
Yeah.
you get those major packages for superstars, you'd much rather have the superstar.
I mean, it's a simple fact of the matter, right? And Jaylen Brown being the face of the Players Association, right? Like, there's so many other stories to consider, but right now, Boston has to figure it out. Philly, on the other hand, as unfortunate it is that two of the players that Matt and I both despise watching because of the style
They're
of
the
play that they
worst.
do, look like they are potentially going to chug along to an NBA Finals potentially right now, because Embiid might be the best big left in. I mean, he's definitely the best big left in the Eastern Conference for sure.
Easily.
And as I was mentioning to Matt, I think it's going to come down to potentially what your bigs can do at the end of the day when we think about the firepower that's left. And Philadelphia, man, they're in a fantastic spot.
No, they absolutely are, man. Up 3-2 at home to tomorrow night, I think it
Yeah,
is.
tomorrow.
Like it's a great spot to be in for them, and yeah, especially when you look at the fact that the Heat are just kind of rolling right through the Knicks,
Yep.
and like Jimmy Butler isn't gonna get that much rest if you guys can finish them off in Game 6, and Jimmy Butler's been playing out of this world, but the Knicks have just looked horrible. It's like, is Cleveland really that good of a team if this team beat them like that? Like, come
it
on.
it questions a lot, right? Because if you remember, all season long we were talking about the four teams in the East that were going to be a factor, right? Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Boston, and that fourth was Brooklyn for a while,
Cleveland.
right?
Oh,
Because we were talking
I
about
thought it was
KD and
Cleveland.
but we were talking about KD and Kyrie, and then when they fell apart, Cleveland came into the conversation. We forgot about Miami. We simply just did. And at the end of the day, Jimmy is Jimmy, right? They were awful. They were not good coming into the playoffs. So this is a complete turnaround.
They were the worst offense in the NBA, man. They
Yeah.
were outside of the playoffs at certain points. I think they dropped down to as low as 10 at certain points in the season, maybe even below that.
Yeah.
Like they were fighting for their play in life. And then Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, man. Like this man is unbelievable. Kyle Lowry outplaying the Knicks guards by himself, man. Like he
Yeah.
has turned back the clock a little bit in this series, just making the heady basketball plays, being the Kyle Lowry that we know and love. Is just it's been a sight to see. And Jalen Brunson needs some more help, man. Like Julius Randle, where you at, bro? Like your season stats to
Dude.
your playoff stats, you've dropped like 9 points. You're down in rebounds, down in assists, down in shooting percentage, down in 3-point percentage. Like, bro, you're just not a playoff player, eh? Like,
I'm really hoping that the line of maybe they want it more will stick with Julius for the next, until the game starts in like 2 hours and he's all he's been thinking about. And I hope he comes out and rocks the Garden because that's the only way. The only way that they have a chance in this series. If Julius Randle comes out tonight and puts up like 50 points. Seriously, because they
like
have
40.
been but like if you think about this team right now, you say Julius Randle, you see he needs to show up. You say Brunson needs help, right? Obi and RJ can't do it unless they have their veterans. Julius Randle is supposed to be that guy for this team. He's supposed to, and he has been dog water in this series. Let's be honest, right? That's just the
It might
simple
be
fact of
worse.
it. So he needs to come out and step up. But that's not the conversation right now because at the end of the day, pretty much everybody has decided that the Knicks are done. And you kind of
Yeah.
expect that, of course. It is, let's not forget, it is a 3-1 series right now for Miami. And Jimmy seemingly is fine. Seemingly is doing fine with his ankle. No big deal. Putting things away. Like,
He's
it's
the ultimate
beautiful,
warrior,
man.
man.
It's beautiful to
He's the
see.
ultimate, absolute ultimate warrior. How he rolled his ankle the way he did and only missed a game
Yeah.
and has been this good. Like it's just absolutely unbelievable. And the crazy thing also about the Knicks is that they're getting a heavy dose of contribution from RJ Barrett, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had 26, 24, 14, and 24 points in the series. He's given you one mediocre game. He has been awesome efficiency wise. In his 20-point games, he's been over 50% shooting from the field. He's been decent from three, except for in the first game. But like this man
Yeah.
has been good. Jalen Brunson has been good. He dropped 32 points in that loss the other night. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what more can you ask of those guys?
Yep.
And it comes down to the fact that like the rest of the roster just doesn't want it more. And it's not like they don't have more talent than Miami.
Yeah.
It's clear that they do. Emmanuel Quickly,
I wish we
Obi
had
Toppin,
him.
all of
Yep.
these guys, yeah, all the way down. Robinson, like all have been drafted, all were, touted prospects at some point in their careers. You're starting seven undrafted, or you're playing with seven undrafted players on the other team. Beat them! Beat them! It's just Jimmy Butler.
Man, it's crazy. It's crazy to think of where this New York team could be if they had have just sold high on Julius Randle a couple of years ago when where he was. Get a couple more young pieces. Let RJ be the star that he's proving that he might actually be. A lot of people lost a lot of faith in RJ over the first couple of years of his season, but look at a guy like Devin Booker who's really kind of figured it out over the course of time. Like there's always potential, and man, the Knicks, they have to figure it out. And the last thing that I want to say about this series, obviously Spoelstra is the best coach left here, but I have to give flowers to Bam Adebayo because I always talk about how he needs to be better in the playoffs. I've talked about it for years. He's been great in this series. He's been great for Jimmy. He's doing what he needs
Oh
to
yeah.
do to be one of the true last bigs in this situation in the playoffs. Now, he's going to get eaten alive by Embiid if that ends up to be the situation, but good for Miami for this situation because I really want to see it, man. I want to see this 8th place team find themselves in a conference final and maybe do something about it. Because with Jimmy, man, anything's possible.
Man, if we get a repeat of the bubble and it's 7 versus 8,
Dude.
like that is NHL parody at its best, man. Like that is the NHL bleeding into the NBA. That is what we want to see as fans,
Mhm.
where you have no idea who's going to win this thing. That's the best part about the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I feel like the NBA has lacked that for so long. So I'm here for it, man. Um, can I just say one more thing though? Because I
Yeah.
want to I want to shout out Will Liu and his tweet. I saw it the other day. So he's at home watching the Miami Heat, saying to himself, Kyle Lowry.
Lowry.
Oh man, I love that. It sticks with me to my heart, man. It's an all-time Kalo moment. Love
I
it.
would be sad to have Kalo lose to LeBron in the finals because You know, it would be pretty amazing, and we would be rooting for
LeBron,
LeBron
though.
on the side of things. But man, in this time that we've lived in, where we talked about NBA parity coming to a forefront, being at a point where it's not these dynasties, it's duos, it's situations here or there where anybody can do it. To have Giannis break through, to have okay, cool, the dynasty of Steph Curry and them get another ring. To them figuring it out, but also living in this parity where we can, have a 7 and 8 come through, to maybe have it be LeBron's last dance. Like, the story writes themselves, right? So if it happens, man, we'll be very happy over here as campers for sure.
Man, I think the LA season is actually a movie.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
think about it. They start 2-10.
yep,
They are 13th in the Western Conference.
yep,
They are dead in the water. They get to 500 again by January and then fall apart again and are
yeah,
dead in the water, have a 0.2% chance to make the playoffs. And the trade deadline happens. Out goes Russell Westbrook. In comes a bunch of new players. And this team has been the best defense in the NBA since then.
yep,
And LeBron gets hurt, and Anthony Davis is tired, and he's up and down on the offensive end, but has been an absolute monster game wrecker on the defensive end. And 38-year-old LeBron can pull his way to
yeah.
an NBA championship. Man, I'm betting on them next year. If they win, they gotta go double double, you know?
I mean, it's why I believed that LeBron could three-peat with a healthy AD after winning that bubble title. LeBron is him. He is that guy, but even more so, Anthony Davis in the latter half of this series in the past few games, he took being called alternating days personally. Because, man, that game 4 performance, him coming out, the way the game ended with the defense on Curry, like, he's got the Michael Jordan interview. Yeah, they were hunting me. I took it personally. Like, I'm with you, man. It's a movie. It's insane. And, like, as a basketball fan who has lost all of his teams in the playoffs at this point in time, besides Denver, because I'll still root for Denver. I'm LeBron's pulling me, man. He's pulling me over to his side of that train because it is kind of amazing and unreal when you think about the way that transition happens. There's only so many times in any sport, regardless of what it is, where you can see these unreal turnarounds. And a guy like LeBron is great at just adding different things to his infinity gauntlet of a resume to why he's the GOAT, right?
And like again, this is exactly why I think he is the GOAT because he can play any style that you want him to. At a 38 years old
Yeah.
with a foot injury that probably needs surgery that is not 100%. He understands the game so well that he picks and chooses his spots. I mean, it's game 3. I'm watching this game. D'Angelo Russell scored like 11 straight, 12 straight points for the Lakers.
Yeah.
It is not looking good. And everybody is like, man, like LeBron's not playing well. He didn't score a field goal until 5 minutes left in the second quarter. I messaged you
Yep.
and I said, the Lakers are cooked. LeBron doesn't have it. They won by 30,
I got the
bro. They
receipts. Yep.
won by 30. Like, he just turned on a switch and it was off to the races. To know that same end of game play from 2018 finals to bring it back and to be pointing out and directing everybody and
Yeah.
then to get this like pure genius. This man, like I can't say any more about him. Michael Jordan, yes, was a physical specimen, was a scoring specimen, was a defensive monster, but just in terms of just intangibles and just being where you need him to be, being
Yep.
whatever you need him to be. It's LeBron, man. It's LeBron by a mile.
Look,
Sorry.
we talked about this series last week. One of the last things that I said was simply stating you have to watch these games if you can. because of what it means between these type of players. And we've had 3 games since then. 3 fantastic games. A couple of blowouts here and there, big moments, but you can see how much it means to the main guys in this series. And it's great that Anthony Davis is healthy. It's great that he's playing up to the level that he has because that's what LeBron needs right now. It's so ironic that LeBron is going out there and being a better Draymond Green for his team against Draymond. Like it's so beautiful to see, and like you kind of feel bad for Curry a little bit because Clay hasn't had a great game. Jordan Poole, I'm sorry, who? Has he done anything in this series besides waste minutes? Like he had one good game. Sorry, I have to be nice. Poole had one good game, I think, in this series, maybe.
He did.
But like,
yeah. Game 2.
They have to figure it out. The Warriors are in an absolute hole. And yes, we can't not bring up the House of Highlights Corgi because he is 4 for 4 so far. But when you think about what Darvin Ham has done for this Lakers team, you think about the rotations that they found themselves and what they were able to do in these games. It's such an incredibly tough hill, which it has to be for this Golden State team.
Man, it's crazy hard for them to be able to come back from this 3-1 series deficit. LeBron is 17-0 when going up 3-1 in a series.
Oh my God.
And I just don't think he's going to relinquish it, man. He knows what it would mean for his legacy. He understands, the ramifications. And it's funny to me that we have a conversation going on in the mainstream media about if Steph beat him, would Steph take his place on the Mount Rushmore? Would Steph become a top 4 player of all time, and would LeBron drop out of that?
Right.
Because he lost to, a player so many times in his career. And I hate that the media rewrites that narrative.
Yeah.
Steph lost to him and had to go recruit the second best player in the league just to beat him. They had to go get Kevin Durant to beat him. Like, what are we talking about? LeBron has never had the type of help that Steph Curry has had. And it's funny that they're all like, oh, does Steph need more help now? Is Steph not getting enough help? Nobody was saying that when LeBron carried those 2018 Cavs to the final.
Yeah.
Does LeBron need more help? Because it was just evident and obvious. But we have overrated this Golden State Warriors team because of their dynasty pedigree. Draymond Green is not the player that he once was. Klay Thompson is not the player that he once was. Yes, Kevon Looney is a rebounding machine, but he's not great offensively. Jordan Poole, not great. Andrew Wiggins is definitely the second best player on this team. And without Steph Curry, do they make the playoffs?
Yeah.
If you gave them an average point guard, like if you traded Steph Curry for Fred VanVleet, does that team make the playoffs?
Right.
Probably not.
But that's why the conversation is happening right now, because you have a player of Curry's caliber. If anybody is going to do it, right? You think about a team being able to come back down 3-0. LeBron might be able to. Curry might be able to. You have to have the absolute best players of all time to make that even be a conversation. And that's why when you have a guy like Curry, it's possible. And you have this dynasty. And all it takes is one game at a time, right? But their backs are up against the wall. Darvin Ham has been absolutely destroying it in the back end of this series. Like, yes, game 4 is going to be the Lonnie Walker game, which, as an old 2K player who Lonnie was always like the 9th, 10th of my guy on championship teams, like makes me really happy. If you don't know Lonnie's story getting to the league, go look it up, man. This is an amazing story for a kid to have this type of moment. And yes, it's going to be the Lonnie Walker game, but Darvin Ham enabled it to happen. He is doing fantastic things with the right pieces on this roster. And the Lakers, man, the Lakers might just be the locomotive that's going through this playoffs right now.
Man, they clicked at the right time. The players are playing at the right time. Lonnie Walker was basically out of the rotation come playoff time. And he stayed ready, and 15 points off the bench in a fourth quarter.
Yeah.
When you hadn't gotten a single point all game, and to be the first player since Kobe Bryant to do that in a Lakers uniform off the bench in a playoff game, like that's got to be some confidence building, right? And so, man, I love what I'm seeing from the Lakers. I can't believe I'm seeing it because I'm going to be honest with you. After game 2, man, when they got beat by 27 points, I was pretty sure that the Golden State Warriors were gonna break what I had thought, and we're gonna beat the Lakers. But no, LeBron, man, AD, they've locked in, they've strapped it down, and like tonight, man, if I'm not up, you know, 10 points by halftime, if I'm down, 15 in the
Right?
third, I might just throw the bench mob in, let the boys rest because we got game six at home, and that's when we need a 30 and 20 game from AD and a 20 and 20 from LeBron, and just call it a series, man.
You don't want to go to game 7. You don't want to have an even series against this pedigree. But that's why you're in such a good place. That's why you can have the fact that the media was talking about just sit AD, just sit LeBron. Don't even play him in game 5. You know Golden State isn't losing this game, which like that's what championship pedigree is, right? You win that game because your season's on the line and you have to. But that's what's so scary about game 6. That's what's so terrifying about the potential that the Lakers have. And that's why when you go up 3-1, it's such a good feeling, right? And you gotta feel pretty good for LeBron, right? To know that he's sitting
Absolutely.
up right now, to think about, where he was feeling partway into the season, to think about what he has to go through as an old man playing in the NBA right now. Like this is vindication for this guy. So yeah, we hope more for the Lakers, and it is what it is right now. But we got one more series, Matt. If we're ready to move on, the last beautiful series here, kind of insane. Kind of insane the direction that it's gone between the Suns and the Nuggets.
I thought it was going to be a rout. I
Right?
thought, Denver goes up 2-0. Phoenix did not look like they had it. And like you said, man, can Devin Booker be that guy? In game 3 and 4, he was that guy.
Yeah.
And he's on one of the most like prolific playoff streaks in NBA history. But I still gotta go with Denver here, man. The Joker dropping 53
Right.
in a loss, like this man wants it. He is going for it.
I had to apologize to my buddy Johnny. He was asking me how I thought the situation was going to go, and I said, "Oh, Denver, easy gentleman's sweep over the Suns. Not going to stand a chance." Look, I didn't have this much faith in Devin Booker to be able to do what he was doing through all of those games. But again, as much as this series is 3-2 and people were like, "Oh, the Suns are doing what they're doing," I still feel vindicated, because if you go and you look at that third quarter in game 5, you saw when everything went downhill for the Suns in that game. It's when Devin Booker stopped hitting his shots. The fact of the matter is, as you like to joke, as Joker was saying himself, there's only 2 of them. If you just can stop the 2 of them, you're good. And that's what happens, right? You make a trade for Kevin Durant, you gut your roster. It's why this team is going to be terrifying next year when they go and
Oh
they
yeah.
retool in the offseason. But if Denver can hold pat, if, Bruce Brown can keep doing what he's doing, if Aaron Gordon can keep being, the role player that he's doing, if Murray can play like he did in the second half of game 5, not the first half of game 5, it really is Denver's series to lose by far.
No, absolutely, man. I think Denver's definitely the team to beat in this series. They're much deeper. There's again 2 of them. Just stop them. There's 2 of them. They're playing a two-man game. Like DeAndre Ayton has completely checked out. He is like they're playing their backup. I don't even remember
Yo,
his
shout
name.
out, shout out Jack Londale, the legend. He's playing
Thank
so
you.
well in this series, I gotta say.
But like he shouldn't be playing. He's maybe spot up minutes here and there. Like
Seriously. Yeah.
Aiton is unplayable. He is, such a bad attitude. I'm so glad the Raptors didn't go after him, last year when all the rumors were that we were gonna, go get him. The Pacers are probably, thanking their lucky stars that the
Right.
Suns matched. Like, could you imagine having that contract with this type of guy who is so, I don't know, soft.
Matt,
I don't know
the
the word here, but like, come on.
he's as much as I hate to say this as a fellow gamer, he goes home after these games, he loads up, Suns versus Nuggets, and then he goes and puts up 40 and 20 on with his character against them, because he would rather just cash his paychecks and go and play 2K, man. As much as that sucks, that's kind of who DeAndre Ayton has showed himself to be. You think about players who have come into the league with a certain skill set and have done nothing to add or expand on their game. that might be Ayton at this point in time. He's kind of just wants to be there and be along for the ride. And as we've seen with guys like LeBron, as we've seen with anybody, like you have to be dedicated. You have to put in the effort to get all the way. That's why you feel kind of bad for KD. That's why you feel kind of bad for Booker at this point in time. But it's why I made that comment about how they're going to go and retool and be scary. Because yes, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are both him. They're both those guys. And when they put up what, 86? 86 points in game 3 together. Ugh, like,
Dude,
that
no,
to be expected. Yeah.
they're unbelievable, and it's kind of sad that they just don't have the team around them, and Chris Paul got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But man, you're right. Once they retool in the off season, they will be scary. Now we've got, leads in all of these series. Do you think they all end up the way that they're kind of leaning now, or are you seeing anything kind of flipping on its head?
I mean, my heart obviously wants the Nuggets to win, so I don't see that changing. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised for the Suns to come out and get that Game 6 victory. This is Kevin Durant we're talking about here. Let's not forget that. He might come out and put up 50 plus in this game to get them to a Game 7. But I trust in Malone. I trust in this roster, and I trust in these guys. And it really kind of is the Nuggets' time. And as long as they play their game, they can't lose. So I see that series going as it is. Lakers Golden State, as I mentioned last week, I'm not touching any more predictions with it, so I won't even say anything about it. But I think we all know, unless you're Corgi Dog. But and then, man, Philly Boston. Like, as much as I think that the Celtics can do it, man, I'm scared because Embiid is such a giant guy. He literally almost broke what's his name's face when he stepped on him in Game 4 or whatever.
Oh
it
my
was.
God, that was
like
crazy, man.
So close. We were so close to watching a disaster on national television. Okay, when a 290-pound man just steps on another guy's face. So
Grant Williams, man, what a tough man, and I love the interaction between them. He's like, we're all competing out here. I get it, man. You didn't mean to stomp on my face, but you did.
It's kind of insane. So yeah, I can't root for Philly obviously because of the stars on their team, but Tyrese Maxey, he's balling, and I do love me some Danny Green, and Danny Green's talking about how Philly's the only team left that he's played for, so he's rooting for them. So maybe I'm on team Danny Green over here. And
he played for the Lakers, bro. He was part of their championship.
Yo, Danny, are you lying to the? I saw a media thing this morning about this. Yo, Danny, what are you doing, Danny? Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
100% sure he played for the Lakers.
Oh man. Okay, maybe I rescind that. Okay, I take back. I'm not on Team Danny anymore. He's letting it down. And then Heat Knicks, bro. Like, do we even need to talk about it? Like, no, Jimmy, it's Jimmy, baby.
They probably gonna win tonight. Like, they gave up in game 4 in the fourth quarter. So like the Knicks did.
The fans deserve it. Like the fans at Madison Square Garden right now deserve the win tonight. So they better get it.
I'm thinking the Heat are gonna win tonight, man. I think. Sorry, man.
No, you're right. No, but you're 100% right. But I'm saying like the New York fans deserve better than what they're probably gonna get tonight, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, man. All right, you wanna wrap it up with some hot takes or a mystic prediction here, buddy?
Yo, I'm so in. I'm going out of left field. I got a nice win, but I'm scared to touch any of these series. So we're going to have a little fun here, okay? The Leafs are down bad. They're down bad. They're down so bad. But wouldn't it be great if they could win those next 4 games, come back? I'm dreaming of a Canadian team being able to lift the Stanley Cup. So please, Leafs, do it for an old, Ontario guy over here. Get a W or 2, but if you get 4, that'd be great.
Kevin, in the history of knowing me, have you ever known me to cheer for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Never.
My entire life, I have never cheered for this team. I have lived in Toronto for the majority of my life. I was cheering for them in Game 6 against the Tampa Bay Lightning when they won because I felt bad for this city and the franchise. And I thought to myself, okay, they're playing Florida. Montreal owns Florida's first round pick. I would like it to be 17 and not 29-32. So I will cheer for Toronto in this series. They are down 0-3.
So bad.
How do people like this franchise? I am already angry with them. It is just brutal.
It's so ironic considering the articles, they'll be celebrating this for years to Like we'll we'll
Dude.
we'll, we'll move past it because it's
You know,
slightly
it'd be
painful.
so
Oh
sad.
man,
You know, it'd be so sad if they
yeah.
end this year and you still can say that they haven't won a playoff game past the first round in 20 years.
Yeah, let's hope they can be a little better than
Ouch.
that. Oh
At
God, no,
least get
thank you.
one. Get one,
Seriously,
man.
seriously.
All right. Well, that's enough about hockey. I'm gonna come back to the NBA, and I'm gonna say, Boston was in the spot last year against,
That's
Milwaukee and
yeah.
Giannis and the dominant big. I think they win game six. I think they win game seven. I think Jason Tatum goes nuclear in these last two, and he, takes that ball and takes it dominantly, hopefully. And Boston, pulls out the series, man. I'm still sticking to my Boston Nuggets prediction here.
Man,
So
he's pulling on my heartstrings over here. I'd love to see it. But crazy to think that it's possible that this time next week will be a couple games into the conference final games. Like these playoffs, they come at us, they take forever to get here, and then all of a sudden it's just banger game
yeah,
after banger game, left and right, man.
yeah, man. It's awesome though, man. These playoffs have been great. Like the fact that we could get a 7-8, the fact that, like there's no one no, Denver's the one seed. Okay, they're still a one seed left. Yeah, yeah.
You said it
There's
last week,
no
dude. There's 1 through 8 right now. It's kind
eight.
of
Yeah.
insane. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, well,
Awesome, man.
we're looking forward to it, man. There's gonna be some banger games this week. I look forward to getting back here next week and talking to you about where things stand. But that'll be it. All right. So thanks everybody for being here. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Board Sports. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Check out theboardsports.net for new episodes and blog posts.
And we'll talk to you next time.